right, let's try and bring you this now. The Democratic Alliance in Gauteng is accusing the province's government of failing the victims of the deadly Marshalltown fire. 76 people died when a hijacked 5-story building caught alight in the Johannesburg CBD. This was just over a year ago. The party now claims that some victims remain in state mortuaries around Johannesburg. The Gauteng DA Human Settlement spokesperson is Mervyn Cirota, who joins us in studio. Mr. Cirota, good evening to you and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Honey.
Let's begin with the people that died in that fire. How many people are you aware of that or whose bodies are still lying in mortuaries, and how many months down the line?
Well, we're a year down the line. And just to put some context on all of this, you know, this is a tragedy waiting to happen. And as you know, we've had a further tragedy a few days ago. And the inner city of Johannesburg has, for all intents and purposes, been abandoned by the city and the provincial administration. In that context, we did some research and we've investigated and we've determined there are 17 bodies still in the mortuary. There are 32 individuals that have been deported. And we're going to be doing an inspection at Lindela to determine how many foreigners are still at Lindela, because we understand that there are still a few citizens of foreign countries waiting.
Yeah.
The difficulty here, sorry, is there is no coordinated plan to deal with the problem. The provincial government, the Premier, the Mayor, and the new Mayor, even Mr. Marrero, Councillor Marrero, has indicated that the problem is just, it would appear too big for him. There needs to be a coordinated approach across the board. The Department of Safety, the Department of Social Development, the Department of Human Settlements, all of those need to get together, and it appears none of that has happened.
A year down the line, Mr. Cirota, it's unbelievable because this incident even got the attention of the president, who was on the other end of the country. He came overnight to that incident and made assurances that this would be taken care of. So when you say that there's been a total lack of planning, because that's what coordination is,
yes,
it's lack of planning, it talks to a lack of planning. How many victims, let's put aside for a moment the deceased, 17 that you say still lie in mortuaries. What about those that were displaced as a result of that fire? If the deceased are still languishing in mortuaries, what about those that need shelter?
Well, they've been given temporary accommodation, but they've complained. They've complained that it's inadequate. I haven't been to see it. We are going to see where they are, but as I understand it, it's inadequate. They haven't made proper provision to look after them. So it would appear, because they are foreigners, their dignity is undermined. And it's a sad scenario. You know, human dignity doesn't matter who you are. In those particular circumstances, there should be a way to deal with it effectively, to understand the problem and to get involved. And I'm calling on the Premier tonight, as well as all the MECs who need to be involved. And you've indicated the President. The President is aware of it. There needs to be intervention on a huge basis, because the city of Johannesburg, this is not an isolated incident. The city of Johannesburg is dying. And if this is not fixed up, things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. And you probably don't know, or you might have heard, the attempts to start fixing the area that imploded and where the street collapsed in the old Bree Street has not yet been started. They appointed a contractor, and that contractor didn't deliver, so they've had to start again. This is a year after the event. If you walk through the city of Joburg, and I do oversights in the city of Joburg, it is silent. There is no activity. It should be the hub of this country. It should be where business activity is. Business is waiting to invest. Banks are ready to loan money, but there's got to be an activity, an involvement, and a plan across the board, national, provincial, and local government. And that is severely lacking.
What do you know about the state of children? When I say children, just a few days ago, we did a story on the very same victims of that fire, and we were focusing the attention on young children who should be at school but are not at school. Is that something also to raise sharply with the authorities?
Very serious problem.
Because this government says every child of school-going age should be at school.
But what appears to be happening is when these citizens of other countries are put into temporary locations, their children are sent with them. So these children languish in a frozen state of non-education. And of course that doesn't help them. Their livelihoods are affected and their long-term effects in their lives are severely impacted. So there is, as I've indicated, there doesn't appear, and I've asked questions, I've looked into it, there doesn't appear to be an effective way of dealing with it. You've got to sit down with all the role players, the JDA, the provincial government, the national government, all the role players, the various MECs, and look at a plan. Yeah. The city of Johannesburg, under the previous mayor, did absolutely nothing. It was hoped that a plan would be introduced by the new mayor. We've heard nothing so far. So right now we have a crisis, a real existential crisis that needs to be sorted out very quickly. Yeah. We in the DA will ensure that we name and shame, we make sure that these issues are brought to to bear. We will ensure that all the information that we gather will be presented to the Premier, to the correct MECs, so that something is done. And we will ensure that by doing that, something starts to happen. Because right now, we're in a frozen state of going nowhere. Very briefly, on this last question, you mentioned that you are going to be visiting the Lindela Repatriation Center. This is one area that really gets talked about often, and the state in which the people are waiting to be deported are kept under. When is that going to happen? And hopefully you can come and report to us. It'll be in the next 2 weeks, as soon as we can organise a team to go there to determine exactly what the issue is. It's not only these particular individuals from the fire. Lindela has a reputation which has been smeared and over a period of time. So we need to investigate other issues. What exactly is going on at Lindela with foreigners? Is it only these individuals from the fire? Are there others? Because all these things are linked. And until we break down all the inadequacies, all the disruptions, and all the negative practices, we're not going to get to the bottom of the problem.